A warm welcome to you, Club 1999 member. I have some very explosive information for you today, so let's get on with it right away. I hope I don't need to remind you to keep this recording private and only for your consumption. Please do not share it, and I think in the past I've told you why. Okay, you could even land into problems yourself because this information is of a highly sensitive nature, only for Club 1999 private club members of the Club 1999. Now, whatever anybody says about the Kenyan Intelligence Service, the truth is they have a long record of being spot on. Even prior to the 2007 troubles in Kenya, when everybody blamed the intelligence community, the truth of the matter is that the information about what was going to happen in the election was already with the right people to make the right decisions. And what went wrong in 2007 is that the people in charge of making decisions, because the intelligence service does not make decisions, it only provides information and seeks authorization to action certain information. Naturally, the only person the NIS report to, the National Intelligence Service, is the President of the Republic of Kenya. That is the person ultimately responsible for how the information is used or not used. And we also know that there were two differing pieces of advice the President was receiving right through the period before the elections and after. On one side was the National Intelligence Service, very experienced. They have people who could be able to process information very quickly and very accurately. And therefore, these people were giving the President information of what's happening in the country and giving him recommendations. Now, the decisions taken, it became very clear after a while that those decisions were not coming from the intelligence service. And we concluded on this channel that a strong faction of presidential advisors, led by the president's mother, and others were the Zs like David Morathe, were the main people who were calling the shots as far as advice to the president was concerned. Because we saw a lot of things from the 60s and 70s. And indeed, we were not the only people who saw it. Many other people saw it, including Senator Sakaja, who, you remember when he organized for the release of Babu Owino, who was being locked up for a whole weekend, presumably as punishment, in releasing him on that Sunday. He said that there are some people who think, who are not aware that we're in the year 2018. I'm sure you remember that. And so, we know the different parties who are giving advice to the president. Now, it has also now become clear that this powerful faction of advisors to the president were also getting a lot of backup from Cambridge Analytica. For instance, we know that the way Cambridge Analytica operates is that there's one particular human emotion that they use very extensively, they rely on to achieve their objectives, and that is the human emotion of fear. And therefore, it now makes perfect sense why we saw immediately after the election results were announced that the security forces went out of their way to create fear amongst the public. Now, if you're out of touch with the Kenyan public, you'd have believed such a scheme would have worked. Indeed, if you're a foreigner, having to make such a decision or having to make recommendations in Kenya, you would also assume that fear will have to work, because fear always works. However, there's one instance where fear does not work. And this is where somebody reaches the end of their rope. It is like a cowardly dog. You chase it away all over the place. It is very scared of you. You pick up a stone, it runs away as fast as possible. But then you reach a situation where you've cornered this dog. This dog is cornered. It can no longer run, and it just has you facing it. Its only way of escape is through you. Now, we all know this is the point where the cowardly dog becomes extremely dangerous. Because we know what will tend to happen is that the dog will attack you. You've pushed it to its end, to the end of its rope. So it's no longer scared. Fear is no longer a factor because it has nothing to lose. Now, unfortunately, that is where Kenya reached during 2017. A vast majority of the Kenyan population reached that point. And this is where the fear tactics, which may have worked very well in 2013, did not work in 2017. Now, somebody local, somebody with a gut feeling, and somebody who has even half a ear on the ground to what is happening in the country would have been able to make the right call. They'd have been able to stand up and say, no, I don't think this will work in this case. They'd have been able to say, no, I think this is very dangerous, given the circumstances in the country at the moment. It may not work. Now, sadly, most of this was their advisors to the president, out of touch with the common person. And the other people in that camp were Cambridge Analytica, foreigners. And that is why it neatly explains now why the country ended up in the serious problems it ended up in. It explains very neatly why the government continued to pursue tactics that were not working. And while a lot of Kenyans saw what was happening and were puzzled, wondering why the big decision makers within Jubilee government could not see what was obvious, looking back now and putting Cambridge Analytica into the mix, it all makes sense. But the biggest shock of all is that the Jubilee government made a major about turn, a major change of direction, which has resulted in the infamous handshake on the stairs of Harambee House. The timing of that is just fascinating. It raises a very intriguing question. Were Cambridge Analytica around up to the very last minute? Because we cannot ignore the fact that shortly after the president changed his mind about talking to the opposition, these details about Cambridge Analytica came to the public light. The scandal on this organization broke, so to speak. Was it a coincidence? I don't think so. And indeed, I'm pursuing at this very minute, concrete evidence to prove what I've just told you. And I'll make it available here on Club 1999 as soon as I have it. But for now, the pieces of information I've given you, they all fit in together very neatly like a jigsaw puzzle. Let's look at it even in another completely different way. Let's assume Cambridge Analytica left immediately after the elections. Okay, let's assume that for a minute. We all know, and I've emphasized this here before, that the president always has his information several days before the public has it. That is how he rules successfully. And therefore it is safe to assume that the president knew the troubles that were coming to Cambridge Analytica long before the story broke out in the public. And he knew the impact and full repercussions. And therefore, this may just have been one of the other motivating factors that sent him to the negotiation table. And contrary to what a lot of the people firing Babs at Raila think, and contrary to what a lot of Kenyans think, if you look at it soberly, this was a kind of lopsided, one-sided deal. Because the person who gained the most was the opposition, was Raila Odinga. And I'm talking in terms of the demands. You take a situation where you have some certain demands, your opponent has completely refused to meet those demands, and then suddenly they meet with you and accept all the demands. You get my gist? Definitely there's something there. Okay? I will keep on, of course, pursuing my leads, which I can tell you at this juncture are very close to fruition, so that I can be able to give you the information conclusively and tell you, yes, this is exactly what it is. But I thought it would be a good idea to give you a heads up at this early stage. I am convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that one of those two theories I've given you is correct. Yeah? Either these guys were here until the last minute, or number two, they left, but still the president was aware of what was going to happen. And this helped, get him to the negotiation table. We live in very amazing times. I mean, a lot of very interesting things are happening. And of course, I'll always keep you very well informed as a member of Club 1999, especially on the sensitive stuff that I cannot talk about on the open channel. Just like this recording. Okay? Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.